Teches Bov Metzia Daf Memtes Amud Aleph. We are in a new week, and not a new subject. We're in the middle of a subject. We are now talking about the topic of Mechusore Amono. What does Mechusore mean? When is the person considered to be not trustworthy, untrustworthy in halacha? When does it get the label of a liar? When does it get a label of someone who cheats? Yeah, which is Mechusore Amono, which there's no halachic nafkamina, but he sort of gets this label, and he needs to know that Chachamim don't like him, and I don't think Hashem likes him either for what he does. So we have a machlokes Rav in Rabbi Yochanan. By the way, where we are now is in Meisivi. That's where we are. Before I continue the introduction, people like to know where we are. We are in the 6th or 7th wide line. The Echad Balev, Meisivi. The line, the word is Meisivi. That's where we are in Meisivi. Yeah, that's where the arrow is, and that's where the fingers are. Now let's continue. So Mem Tes Amud Aleph. Yeah, that's 49a. Now, 49a1. Yeah, okay. So basically, when a person gave money, when a buyer in a purchase gave the money already, even though it's not a kinyan, if we talk about metaltalin, nevertheless it's mishapora. He cannot just do that. The what's his name? The other side, whichever the other side that wants to continue the deal and says, hey, you already gave him money, even though it's not yet a done deal, he can force him to go to Beis Din and receive the klala. You want to actually, undo the deal, the almost done deal, you have to go to Beis Din and they'll give you a nice curse. You want to accept the curse? Fine. Then go and revoke and undo the deal. But nevertheless, that's, you should be aware that that's a story. Okay. Now, what happens next? Now we have a machlokas. What happens in an earlier stage? What happens when we already said to each other, okay, tomorrow I'm buying your watch, your motorcycle, your car, your whatever. We did not yet transfer money. There's no transfer of money. Elamai, we say, they already spoke to each other, promising each other that the deal is going to go through verbally. On one hand, it's nothing. There wasn't even money given. But on the other hand, Rav and Rabbi Yochanan argue. What happens in a case in which you close the deal verbally? It's not really closing the deal. And then there was fluctuation in the price. Yeah, the price went higher or lower. Depends what suits you. And then you tell the other person, hey, since we spoke on, let's say, Sunday, when we verbally agreed, and now it's, let's say, Wednesday, when you actually come to take your stuff and pay the money, do the kinyan, a lot of water ran down the Jordan, as we say in Hebrew. A lot of water went under the bridge, right? That's to say it in English. That's true. In Hebrew, saying the Jordan, right? A lot of water went under the bridge, and therefore now the price is different. I don't want to go with a deal with a new price, which is not attractive for me. That is not outright lying. It is revoking. It's not mamish lying. It's just there was change in the metzias. It's not really lechatchila lying. Therefore, it's a mechloikas between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says it's called mechusar amono. The person who does that is considered to be somebody who is not trustworthy in halacha. Don't do business with him or whatever. And according to that's according to Rabbi Yochanan. And Rav says no. Rav says no. He's not considered mechusar amono. Again, midas chasidus. It's not nice to do it, but it does get the label of a shakran. Yeah. When did the Torah say that your yes has to be yes and your no has to be no? That is when lechatchila you were playing games in your heart and you said, I'm saying X and I mean Y. That's treif. But if you really meant what you said and there was an outside factor changing, then it's a machlokas. Rav says it's not called lying, and Rabbi Yochanan said it is called lying. That's ad kan. Basically.
Equal to the buyer and the seller?
Yes, as far as I know. Yes.
Inflation or deflation?
Yeah. Only Rabbi Shimon's not them. Yeah. Meisivi. Welcome, Shlomo. Meisivi, question from a brisa. Rabbi Shimon Oimer. Rabbi Shimon says as follows: Afal pishomu talis koino dinar zov. Although he said in the Mishnah and other places that a talis which is pooled, which kinyan meshicha is koino dinar zov, it purchases the dinar zov, which you correctly said, Yaakov. That doesn't really buy it. The talis, which is given in exchange for dinar zov, if you pull the talis, that's the kinyan, which means now the dinar zov is owed to you, but the talis is owned by the puller, the one who did the meshicha. The ain't dinar zov koine talis, and on the other hand, a dinar zov considered money comparing to talis. If you got your dinar zav, it's only getting the money. When you got the money, it's not yet a done deal because it's metaltalin. Nevertheless, although this is the halacha, aval omru, but they still said, mishapora me'an shedor mabul u'me'an shedor paloga who osid lipor mimi shonemet b'diburoi. Nevertheless, we said that the very well-known halacha that they said, and Beis Din tells the person, the one with capital O, who cursed not cursed, who punished the people of Dar Mabul, Dor Palogo, all the Rishoim, and two others we saw, also Sdoim and Mitzrayim, all the liars, the one who punished them will punish you. And the Brisa continues, by the way, if you remember, the Brisa continues there, that also Chachomim, it's missing the main part of the Brisa here. The Brisa, which we saw a few days ago, says, and even before you gave the money, if you change your mind, nevertheless, you considered as a shakran, you considered as ein omed b'diburoi. En das chachomim noicha himenu. That's what the Brisa said. Even if before you gave the money, but you gave your word, that's the word in English and in Hebrew. You gave your word, it's a done deal, and you're changing your word, then you consider to be chachamim don't like you. Chachamim and representing the Torah, you really messed up. Even though Beis Din doesn't go and curse you, you're there. So what do we see? So we see l'chorah clearly that how can Rav say not like that? Here's a brisa that tells us outright that the person who did what? The person who changed his words even before money was transferred is a liar. Chachamim don't like him. How can Rav speak against that? Says the Mishnah Tanohi. Really, it's true. There are Tanoim who believe not like Rav. They believe that changing a word is a lie. Nevertheless, it's a machlokes Tanoim, and Rav has every right in the world to support the other Tanoim. Let's see what's machlokes Tanoim. Look at that's a case. It's a story time. Maaseh Rabbi Yochanan ben Metzia. Rabbi Yochanan ben Metzia, a story about him. Sounds like he was a Tana, Rebbe. Shomer lebnoi. He told his son, "Se uschol anu poelim." He told his son, "Go out and hire for us poelim. We want to, do renovation like my neighbor. We want to paint the house. We want to, clean the garbage. Get poelim to do what? To do whatever. Get to hire them." Polach. He went and he found the poelim. He found the workers. He also told them, we'll give him his zaynos. When he was dealing with them, talking about the working conditions and all the details, he told them, the lunch is on me. Right? It's always an issue in some lunch. People told me at work, sometimes lunch is on you, lunch is on the... We're not talking about the time of lunch. We're talking here about the food. When you work for us, besides your salary, you're going to get proper food, mezonos. That's what he told them. Now, it was not yet a closed deal. He verbally promised them. You have to be aware of that. He came back to his father, very happily that he did the shlichus. He came to the father to say, no, I found good people and I promised them food. Omar Loi, the father was a bit dismayed. The father said, no, Bni, my son, even if you give them lunch, like Shlomo HaMelech b'shaitoi. Shlomo HaMelech had his downtime. Remember when he wasn't a king for 7 years, a very interesting story. Even if you give them food like Shlomo HaMelech in his good times, when he was in his at his best, lo imohem. You may not. That's not necessarily considered fulfilling your duty, because if you are promised them proper lunch, what's proper lunch? Shehen they b'nei Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov. Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov, says Rashi, were more than Shlomo. In other words, there's no limit. If you give them, it's called in English, open-ended promise, and open-ended for lunch, they can come to you and say, what? Only 7-course dinner? Only sushi shmushi and only a fat big steak? We want more. You promised the best lunch ever. For us, lunch is hoo-hoo. Even though we're Paulim, we're used to the top restaurant with a big fat steak and, 15 different parve ice cream and American wedding. In other words, you gave them an open-ended promise and you put us in a shtoch now. In simple Yiddish, Ella, therefore, his father now commanded him to do the following. Father talking to his very excited son. Before, listen to this, before they start work, because once they start working, that's like a done deal. Them starting to work is like Mashiach. Before they start picking the brush or the shovel or whatever they work with, before they start work, quick. Before they start, say them or go out and tell them, All I promise you for lunch clearly is only bread and legumes, bread and some bebalach, bread and some hummus. Oh, bread and hummus. Beans. Kitnis is a big word for legumes. Legumes. How do you say the legumes? In other words, but kids, that's really what the Arab workers always eat at the building sites, right? Pita and hummus. So in other words, yeah, maybe he'll give them more. Chas v'shalom, he wasn't miser, but to commit himself, he was smart. Rabbi Yochanan, yeah, Rabbi Yochanan ben Metzia said, "Mitzad, my obligation. I'm promising the minimum. I offer you just pita and hummus. That's all." Now, frag the Gemara. That's the end of the story, the end of the brisa. Now, if you want to tell me, Dvorim yesh ben mishum mechuser amono. Now Rav is defending himself, claiming the Rav found his source. Says Rav, if really you think that words alone, changing your words by just promising without kinyan is considered mechuser amono, is considered to be a lie and a fraud, if so, how can he tell his son, go change your mind? This is a Tana, my friends. This is a Malach. How can he tell his son to change his mind and basically lie? Must be, says Rav, I'm right. If you never did a Kinyan, it's only talk, open-ended, empty talk. Is it just talk, right? And therefore, you see, some Tanoim support me. So some Chlokis Tanoim. Answers the Gemara. Says the Gemara, no. Shiny host of there, it's different. Don't bring me proof from over there, Rav, and whoever supports Rav. Shiny Hossam over there is different. The poilim gufayu lo samcha datayu. Over there, the workers themselves were not samcha datayu. They did not really rely on the son's words. Yet sometimes there are promises which, by definition, are not relied upon. Why? My timer. Why do you say that the workers didn't rely? Made the yadi. They knew very well that lavua somach. They knew that he's relying on his father. They knew they're not talking to the boss. They knew they're talking to his very excited son who wants to give them nice food. They knew they're not talking to the father himself. And Mimele, they knew that the promise of the son is a question mark, yeah, which makes a lot of sense. You talk to a worker, yeah, we have an issue in their building now. You talk to the worker about something that's done wrong, of course you know he's not the one to decide. There's a boss, and on top of him another boss, a kablan, and the this and that, right? In other words, Avada, the Poilim themselves knew that the one they're talking to is not the be-all and end-all, he's not the power to be. Mimela, there's no smichus das. But could be that if you speak to the real boss, then people are not allowed to change their mind. You didn't prove anything yet. Frag the Gemara, Yachi, if so, if you're telling me that their words, the words of the son, are not really committing or obligating, if so, afilu itchilu b'melocho nami. If so, even if they started the work, would be the same thing. Why are you telling me that once? Why was the father so nervous and told him, quick, before they start the work, then change your mind, even if they started to work, right? Lamaisa, they're doing kinyan, whatever they do, vis-a-vis the son is always open-ended because the son is not the one employing them. Who cares that they started work? They can still change their mind, the boss and his son afterwards. Answers Gemara, no. It's chilu b'melocho, yeah. If they started to work, which is like a kinyan, once they picked up the shovel or the paint or whatever that is and started to work, that's a point of no return. Why? V'vadai, they knew, samchi da'atayu, surely they rely and they know that whatever was said is really set in stone. Why? Omru, they say to themselves, Meima Omar kameda avua v'nichale. We assume that if we already started to work, surely the son already conveyed to the father the messages and the agreement, the details of the agreement, and the father is happy. Again, let's summarize. We have a story here about a father who's the real boss. His son is sort of his shaliach, but not 100%. The son promised something which is not taken seriously because he's not the one to decide, right? Therefore, he can change his mind. And this doesn't reflect the real story of two people who are responsible to each other. This is one person who is less responsible. He's not the one really in charge, right? And now what happens? Because, says the Gemara, Rav would say he can change his mind because you're allowed to change your mind before anything started. Rabbi Yochanan would explain, no, the reason he can change his mind is only because the person here in charge is not the real deal, is not the real decider. Now, why is it that if the poilim started to work, then it's a point of no return? Yeah, says the Gemara, no, because we know if they already started the work, they know for sure that the father is most probably content with what the son said. Otherwise, you can't change anymore, right? For sure, once we started to work, probably the son already conveyed to the father the message, and everything is done. Once the father decided, you can't take that back. Frag the Gemara. Now the Gemara asks the question. We may use the whiteboard soon. Maybe 1 second. Frag the Gemara. Is it true that Rabbi Yochanan said? What did Rabbi Yochanan say in the Machlokes? That changing your word, even if you have the justifiable reason of the price changes, is called mechusar amono. You're lacking trust. You're not trustworthy if you do that. Did Rabbi Yochanan ever say that? The Omar Rabba, listen to the following question. Up until now, I want to give you a small, tiny intro. Up until now, we spoke about transaction with money. Money, every transaction has money, right? No. Sometimes people give gifts. And although the Western world looks at gifts as something cute and nice and not really obligating, that is not the case. According to halacha, if a person promised a friend a matana, right, we're going to see that's an issue. Matana is a gift. If I tell them I'm going to give you for your birthday 100 shekels, whatever, then we start a question. And if actually you were moishech the matana, I gave you a nice set of sforim, a nice set of chumashim in Portuguese, whatever, and what? And you get the matana, you pulled it. Am I allowed to ask back? No, not stop because it's not nice, because because it's not nice and not whatever with it. No, it's halachically exela. Once it did kinyan, even though money wasn't transferred, it's a kinyan b'chol the dover v'inyan. It's a kinyan. Now let's see where matana comes into the story. Did Rabbi Yochanan really say that a person who changes his mind after the promise was made, is it true that it's called Mechutza Ramona? The Omar Rabba Bar Barchan Omar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabba Bar Barchan quotes the exact same Rabbi Yochanan. Same Amoiro, Rabbi Yochanan. Omar L'Chaveiro, person who tells his friend verbally, nothing but verbal. He promised his friend, Matona Ninois and Lecho, I'm going to give you a matona, I'm going to give you a gift, a geshank, a gift. Yochel Lachzor Boy, he can change his mind. Yeah, he can change his mind. He's allowed to change his mind. Yochel Pshita, of course. Well, since money wasn't given, because there is no money, and there's no Mashiach, there's no Kinyan. Of course, Kinyan wasn't done when I just told you, Yitzchak, such a nice guy, every day gave me tea. I'm going to give tomorrow a box of beautiful tea bags, whatever, yeah? Of course I can change my word because there was no Kinyan. Every child knows that. Ela must be, he's saying something more, something deeper. Muter lachzor boy. Not only there's no Kinyan, it's also allowed lechatchila, and I'm not called a liar if I change my mind. Let's tell you seriously, tomorrow Yitzchak, I'm going to give you a box of nice tea bags, and then I say no, I changed my mind. No, why? Because whatever, muter lachzor boy. Then it's allowed. Oh, so you see, the just verbally promising is not a problem to change my mind, right? And that's exactly against what Rabbi Yochanan said. So what's going on with Rabbi Yochanan? Inner contradiction. Answers the Gemara, Omar of Pope, Moide Rabbi Yochanan b'matonemu etes the samcha datayu. Rabbi Yochanan agrees that if you give a small gift, when it comes to gifts, there's a difference between a small gift and a big one. And I'm going to explain translate and explain. If the matana is a small matana, if I told Yitzchak, my good friend over here, I'm giving you, let's say, 100 shekels, 200 shekels, a nice box of teas cost, I don't know, 100 shekels, I don't know, the fancy ones. Yeah, Yitzchak is really expecting it. Samcha datayu. Yitzchak thinks I'm an honest guy. And if I change my mind on a small gift, that's sheker. And here Rabbi Yochanan would for sure say, you're a liar if you change your mind. Bear that in mind, my friends. If you promise somebody a matana, a gift, and you change your mind, it's a problem of sheker. So what did Rabbi Yochanan mean when he said before that it is not a problem? That was when I talk about a big mega gift. Let's say I come to you with a serious face, and I tell my friend Peretz, you're even unbelievable, a neighbor, and tomorrow I'm going to give you £1 million. So you're going to think... So you're going to laugh and think that I have a nice sense of humor, a stupid sense of humor. or maybe I made it. Maybe Akiva won the lottery, but you're not going to really expect £1 million. You may be hopeful, maybe yes, maybe no. And by the way, I was very happy to see one of the Rishonim. Depends on who the person is. If Bill Gates was here and he spoke to you and he said, "Oh, such a nice guy, I'm giving you £1 million, $1 million," then you take it seriously. If I promise people £1 million, believe me, I'd love to give each and every one £1 million. Such nice friends, but in other words, when it comes to matana, depends on the context. Rabbi Yochanan says, "I stick to my guns." When it's not a matana, let's summarize. When we talk about transaction with money and it's serious, and I'm buying salt or cotton or sesame, all the items we saw, and I'm really promising, and it's a normal deal, says Rabbi Yochanan, you said a word, stand by your word. Are you losing money now because of fluctuation in price? Tough luck, be a man. Mashenkin matana, gifts are flexible. When I tell you I'm not asking anything in return, just because I like you and you're a nice yid, I'm giving you a matana, then depends. If you think the gift is within my financial ability, you really expect it. And if the person expects it and you change your mind, you're a liar, says Rabbi Yochanan, just like you said before. If the gift is something, way out of it may be, but not really expected, you don't really expect me to give you not even 100,000. I'm sorry, not even less. Yeah, that amount of money, or I'll give you tomorrow a new car. That's not even a motorcycle. Where are you? Yeah, there is no such things. Such things are beyond the person's expectation, and if you change your mind, then you're not called a shakran. I want to add something. I want to stand on the soapbox again, and I want to share with you my emotional problems, and I want to share with you my baggages and residues from the past. Yeah, you willing to hear? Give me a box of tissues you're going to give me? So I was fundraising in many places in the world, and I met very nice people, very generous, and I met some very, very not nice people. I want to see the positive. One of the interesting phenomena, it didn't happen very often. Stam, you should know, because these things happen in the Jewish world. It happened to me quite a few times, not many times, and I love Klal Yisrael. It happened to me that people promised me mamish, they're going to give me a donation, and they'll see me tomorrow in shul and give me a donation. After I don't want to say butter them up, whatever, after I did my work and explained to them, so they said, tomorrow morning, I'm coming here to the Shtibel, to the Bet Knesset, in all kinds of places in the world, yeah? And then they said, no, I changed my mind. No apologies. I'm not saying they found out something bad. No, then no, because no. Yeah, very nice people of different countries, which I won't mention here. And that is, here you have a bigger problem. Not only it's shekel, and I'm okay with it. I was moichel them. I know it's all mishamayim. On a personal level, I'm really okay with that. You should know, people should know, when they promised tzedakah, not only it's this issue, it's a much bigger issue of what? According to the Ramah, well, that's for Ashkenazim, even if you thought in your mind, you made a mental decision, I'm going to give tzedakah, and you regret, you can't regret. Because it says, yeah, kol nediv liboy, it says Parshas Truma, we're going to read in a few weeks, the nedava of the heart. The Mechaber says if you said it. The Mechaber says from a different pasuk, I don't remember the pasuk. He says if you said I'm going to give tzedakah to X, you have to give the tzedakah, even if he didn't say neder. By tzedakah, the amira alone, is opposed to kinyan, is mamish mechayev. People just should be aware of it. I'm not talking about the past, and I'm not talking to you in person. Obviously, I'm just saying in general, people should know that if you promise tzedakah, you can't just change your mind. What you could do maybe is mishanim. I'm done lekaf zchus those people. What you are allowed to do, as far as I know, ask your local Orthodox posek, yeah, which we have, Baruch Hashem, people may change mitzdaka letzdaka. Let's say that in mind or in the mouth to give the base 300 pounds, they can maybe change it and give the RCCP 100 pounds or something else, or base Leo 100 pounds. That could be. Maybe that's what they did, yeah? But to stam designate money for tzedakah, even in your thought, not stam, like you decided in your mind, I'm giving tzedakah, and you just say, no, I'm going to buy now my grandchildren ice cream with that. That's not allowed. It's very, very severe. That's just, okay, I'm back. Okay. That was your few minutes of my frustration. Okay. Now I'd like to actually, if necessary, I'll use the whiteboard. But first, I'm okay with questions for now. Yeah. Okay. Ellen reminded me that a few days ago, before I saw this sugya, I said that if you didn't give the money, it's nothing. That is what we thought up until a certain point, and that's what Rav still thinks. Almost nothing. Levi says no. True, I was wrong according to Levi, and that's the halacha. Rav and Levi halacha is like Levi. If you gave your word, it's nothing mitzad. There's no kinyan done. You don't get cursed and based in. There's no halachic ramification that I saw when I researched. However, you called a liar. You want to be called a liar by chachomim, and chachomim don't like you. Okay, it's your choice, and you're not called a man of your word. It's just a status which is really not nice to have. But yeah, thank you for reminding me. It's good. The sugya develops, and we learn new things all the time, myself included. Yeah. Mechusar Amona, it's called Mechusar Amona. Okay, so here comes a story. Frag the Gemara. No, not Frag. Now the Gemara wants to bring a proof and then ask on the proof. Hochinam mistabra. Yeah, makes sense now. What we just said. What did we just say on behalf of Levi? Of Rabbi Yochanan, excuse me. We said that Rabbi Yochanan says that if the gift is a small gift, right, then you're supposed to stand by your word, and it's expected. If I come with serious face to Yitzchak and say, Yitzchak, you know, in a week and a half is my birthday. For my birthday, I want to give you, 100 shekel as a nice gift, and I mean it. You expect it? If I change my mind, I'm a liar, right? If I tell $1 million, it's a bit of a different story. That's what Rabbi Yochanan said. Very nice. Hachinami mistabra. What we just said is likely, and we're going to endorse it now by another statement of Rabbi Yochanan. Domer Rabbi Abo, Omer Rabbi Yochanan. Says Rabbi Abo on behalf of Rabbi Yochanan. Israel shamar leben Levi. Oh, Israel told the Ben Levi. Ben Levi is a Levi, says Rashi. Israel told the Levi, you tell me as we go along, I know you know this stuff, how much or how many grapes do I have to give the Levi if I have 100 grapes? 10. I'm surrounded by scholars, erudites. So the person has 100 grapes, and now he has those 10 grapes, the Israel, which, he's designated for the Levi. He has many more. Yeah, we're focusing on 10 grapes that the Israel has. Okay? Fine. Now, the Israel has 10 grapes which he wants to give the Levi. Israel. Yeah, Israel, Shomer ben Levi. Kur meiser yesh lecha beyodi. A kur that's a big amount of meiser that I have is yours. I promise it to you. Promises. He did not yet give it to the Levi. He verbally promised the Levi, I will give you, the call that I have, which is really 1/10 of my produce. I'm promising you. There are many Levim in the neighborhood. There's Levi and Levinson and Levinstein and Levi Vevi, but he wants to give it to you. You are the Levi. You're going to win the 10 grapes, or maybe the million grapes. The 10% that from me will go to you. Very nice. Then Levi, now that Levi in return, he also has now, he had so much produce. Let's say he had 900 grapes, okay? He had, or 1,000, he had a big amount of grapes, right? The Levi, what does he have to give from his trumas, from his 10? How much does he have to give to the Kohen? 1. Very good. He has to give 1. Now, what he wants to do is as follows. He wants to take this. He has 90 over here, and those 90 are all Meiser Rishon, Meiser Rishon, what goes to the Levi. And from then, he wants that 10 to be given from his 90. Together, 10 and 90 are 100. He has 100 now. From the 100, he wants to give 10 to, which is 1/10, to the Kohen. Yeah, that's 1 out of 10. It's always 1/10. If he has 90 plus 10, he considers those 10 as if it's his. That's the board. So he's 90 plus 10. Says the Levi, I'm relying on the promise of the Israel. It's Kilo, I already have those 10 plus those 90, right? Now I'm going to eat it deliciously and nicely to myself, and this I will give the Kohen. The percentage which I want to give the Kohen will be what Israel will give me. I'm relying on him so much, that what he's going to give me, I'm already transferring to the Kohen. Ever done the Shalach Manas transfer, like a factory? You get a Shalach Manas from one guy, give it to another guy. So here, the Levi says, whatever Israel will give me, I'm already standing in my kitchen 5 kilometers away, and I'm saying that 10 that's by Israel, which will be given to me, I'm already giving to the Kohen, and now I'm allowed to eat the rest because otherwise he's not allowed to eat it. So the Levi is relying heavily on the Israel's promise. Can he do that halachically? The Levi comes to ask the rabbis over here. Can he do that? Look what it says. Again, I'm repeating. Israel Shamal ben Levi. You have a meiser in my hands. The meiser that I have is yours. The meiser Rishon ben Levi. In his turn, Rasha lasos trumas meiser mokem acher. He's allowed to convert what he will get from the Israel as trumas meiser, as a tenth of his giving to the Kohen. Meaning what? Meaning he's mamish relying on the Israel that whatever he said is going to be done. It says the Gemara, how can you rely on it so heavily? If you say loy matzi, if you want to say that what? That it cannot return. Who? The Israel just promised a verbal promise. That's all. If you say that Levi believes you're not allowed to go back on your verbal promise, that's how he's allowed to do that. Because once promised to give the Meiser, it's as if he was given, which by the way is a very big chiddush. But the Meiser, because I know the Israel is not allowed to retract, to revoke his promise, I act as if it was already a done deal, right? And I go ahead and I eat the rest of the fruit, which otherwise would be usher, relying, where is the Kohen's part in the year? Yeah, it's in the other place. It's by the Israel, and it's as if it was given to me. But if you want to say that he's allowed to revoke, allowed to change his words, am I Rashai? How come the Levi is allowed to rely so heavily in Din Deoraisa and give the Kohen, Ki'ilu in his mind, something that may not be given in future? Ishtakach comes out, Tikaochil Tvolim. It says if he's eating tevel, what's tevel? Produce untithed. Exactly. In other words, the Levi is 90 or whatever amount he has over here. Yeah, how can you rely on what's by the Israel? His stuff, he's eating it already. He's having it for supper. Oy vavoy. If this wasn't tithed, it's also to eat. It's chiyuv misa b'dei shamayim. I'm almost sure. If by Levi, he's relying on it. Must be. If he relied on it, then what? Must be that enachinami. We tell the Israel you're not allowed to change your mind. You're going to be a shakran. Now explains Rashi. Why is that called matana mu'etes? Levi said what he said only in a small gift. Who said it's a small gift? I told you 10 grapes. Oh, no, it's 10%. Maybe it's a ton of grapes. And kor, by the way, kor is a big amount. So where's the small gift? Says Rashi something genius. You tell me, and it's a tricky answer. Does Israel have a choice? I mean, if Israel, the Yerushalayim follows halacha, does he have a choice whether to eat those 10 grapes or give them? No, he's mechuyev to give them. Are these grapes really his? Yes and no. It's his, but he's mechuyev to give them. So the only thing he has there is called toivas hano, which means what the Israel has in Meiser is the freedom to choose which Levi to give it to. And that's called a small thing. It's very interesting psychology. For the Levi, wow, it's a ton of delicious grapes. It's a big gift. But mitzad the giver, he's not giving so much. He only decided that he anyhow has to give is giving Chaim Levi and not Yankele Levi. That's all. Lemais, it's not called a big gift because it's not really coming from his own pocket. It's kilo, I gave you a matana. Oh, people sometimes tell the other, give it to whichever tzedakah you want. You mechayiv give it to tzedakah. You have the right. You have the keys in your hand. Which tzedakah to give it to? That's all. But that's called a small gift lemaisa because mitzad the giver is not losing much, right? Anything. So you see, by a small gift, we say enachinami. The person who promised has to follow his promise. That's why the Levi can continue and act as if he was given and give it back to the Kohen and eat the rest in his house. That's a proof like Rabbi Yochanan. Now, thank you for your patience, and then I'll promise I will listen to you. I promise 2 more minutes. Zok the Gemara. The Gemara now wants to basically reject the proof, possibly. Correct the Gemara. Doiche the Gemara. No. Hochba mayaskinan. Yeah, no. Kigon shanot li mimeno. The chazav of kido etzloi, like we said a few dapim ago. Maybe over here the case is that the Levi already got the grapes. He got the Meiser Rishon, those 10 grapes or 10%, and again he redeposited it by the Israel. And that's why the Israel for sure will give it to him, because otherwise he's a real thief. Maybe they're already done by Meshiche, Kinyan Meshiche to the Levi. The Levi went to Chutz La'aretz and didn't have much room in his fridge. So he gave the grapes to the Israel just to look after. And that's why that takes the wind out of the sails completely. Because it was Meshicha. You can't prove anything about the verbal promise. Maybe there was real Meshicha. Correct the Gemara. If so, because it says if so, there's no Chiddush, first of all. Obviously, there's no Chiddush. You can't steal a Pikadon. But the Gemara asks a better question. If so, Ema Seifa, listen to the Seifa of the Brisa. Nesone leben Levi Acher. Ooh, what happened if really that Israel cheated and lied? Ay, 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 ay. He has a stamp all over his forehead, liar, and he gave that master that he promised Chaim Levi, he gave it to Yankel Levi. Ooh, he gave it to somebody else. What's the halacha? Ein lo alav ela toroimes. The only thing that Mr. Levi can have against Israel is toroimes. Toroimes has different meanings. Toroimes begadol means hard feelings. All he can have is feel bad about him, or maybe it means something else. But for sure, Lamaisa, because there was no Kinyan, that's what I meant when I said nothing. It's true that Israel is a liar, yeah, and Levi will look at him as a liar, and Chachami will look at him as a liar. But Lamaisa, Levi doesn't have a financial claim against him. Levi can't take him to Beis Din because everyone agrees, Levi and Rav, that a verbal promise, yeah, may make you look like a shakran if you change it, but Lamaisa, it's not a legal issue. If I promise you I'll sell you my house, I promise you I'll sell you shoes and socks on the entire Brooklyn Bridge, or even then it's not a legal issue if I change my mind, right? But if you want to tell me, if you explain the whole brisa to say, you just wanted to tell me what? That we have a very specific case here in Nukimta that the Levi owned it already. He got it from Israel and then he gave it back to him as a deposit. Am I en la levelet oimes? How can you say such a thing that if the Israel gave the grapes that belong to the Levi 100%, he gave them to a different guy? He's a thief. He's mamish a thief. I deposit by you my colors, and you gave them to someone else. That's theft mamish. Kevin the mashche. Since the Levi pulled it, as you portrayed the case, of course it's mamish money by him. It's not just a roimis. You can't give it to anybody else. Back to safe haven, like we said before. Must be, but the loy not loy shmamino. Must be no. Must be enechinami. We were right all along, which means the Levi was not given the grapes yet. He was promised the grapes. And enechinami, if in the off chance that Israel would lie, and instead of giving it to Chaim Levi, would give it to Yankel Levi, enechinami is a liar. Because he would be a liar, we highly assume he will not want to be considered a liar. Get that ugly stamp on him, and Beis Din look at him badly, and everyone looks at him badly, and Allah looks at him negatively. Because of that, the Levi may go ahead with his further meiser and give the Kohen a percentage appropriate proportionally to what he's going to get, because we do assume he's going to get it. And therefore, yes, Rabbi Yochanan stands by his words very well, by the halachas of Rabbi Yochanan. And here too, Rabbi Yochanan is very consistent. Again, to change your mind vis-a-vis a mekach, a paid deal, even 1 shekel, you're not allowed. Nothing, meaning you can, but you're a liar. And when it comes to matana, depends on the size. Yeah, depends if it's a nice little siddur or the entire Brooklyn Bridge. Depends on that. Yeah, whether you call the liar or not. That's Rabbi Yochanan. B'zeh alochev. Question time. Yeah, whatever. You decide who goes first. I'm not interfering. Yeah. Weiter. Interesting story. This is the first time in my life where I saw a story from the Gemara that there is a huge machlokes in the Gemara, but what was the real version of the story? In the Gemara, there's a very, very big, big issue here. Yeah, big, whatever gap between the two versions of what really went on there. Let's listen. Let's see. Gava, there was a man, the Yair Zuzi Asumsami. He gave money for Sesame. So there's a Sesame company. There are a few people there. Yeah. And what? And he gave money for the Sumsumi. Is the Sumsum his? No. If they change their mind, they're over Mishapora? No. Money was given, my friend. Money was given to the Sesame. Imagine yourself, old-time Sesame factory, Sesame store, Sesame Street, and somebody gave money. He wants to buy Sesame for 100 shekel. He gave 100 shekel, didn't yet pull the Sesame. The Sesame belongs to him? No. If the Sesame people say, we're changing our minds, are they over Mishapora? Yes, guys, yes. Money was given. The curse is given. I mean, they have to go to Beis Din and accept the curse. Maybe they'll really, many people did not know of the curse, not only the Chachamim. So if the Sesame people, if we see soon they're going to change their mind, maybe they're not aware of the severity of it, as I'm sure many people are not, including all the nice people with the tzedakah, and therefore they just have to be aware. And the people have to tell them, listen, if you change your mind, we will take you to Beis Din, and if you accept the curse, will you still change your mind, and then we'll see again. So it's not over till it's over. It's important to know before we start the story. Mishapora is not just the way to Mishapora. I don't think I explained it well enough, although I did say it once or twice. Mishapora is not just being vindictive. We'll curse you in Beis Din. The idea is it's a deterrent. It's like Shavua. Are you sure you didn't break it on purpose? Make a Shavua. You really want to change your mind? Fine, but be a man and accept the curse. If you accept the curse, then change your mind. But if you're not willing to accept the curse, then don't change your mind. Right? It's a deterrent. So now, let's see the story. The person gave money, which we call in halacha, prepaying for the sumsum, the sesame. Lesoif ayakar sumsumi. He did not yet take the sumsumim from the store, and at the end, the sesame got more expensive. On Sunday, he gave the money, the deposit for 100 shekel. Then what? On Wednesday, when he came to the store, the sesame already were how much? 120, let's say, higher. So Hadu Behu, they changed their minds. The Sesame people changed their minds. And they lied to him. They told him, Leislan Sumsumi, we don't have Sumsumi. Appa. The Mamish told him, we don't have Sumsumi, which I think is a lie. Shkoil Zuzach. Now, you'll be surprised. The Sesame is not his. Yeah, he never bought it. The question is, what's the status of the money? The money is in their drawer in their shop, right? And the deal never went through. So they told him, take your money. Loy shokil zuzeh. He did not take it. For whichever reason, he kept his zuz, his money over there in the Sesame store. Ignub, and it got stolen. Da 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 da. The question is, are they considered to be shomrim or not? Are they considered to be a shomer of his money? That's a question. Probably not. Ellen is always right. Also, they came to Rove, was a dayan. Omalei, he told him, he told the buyer, the potential buyer who left the money there, he said, listen, they told you, take your money home. How clearer can you get than that saying we are not responsible? You didn't take it. If so, surely they're not shomer sochor. Even though they may have some kind of gain over here from the deal, but they're not shomer sachar anymore. They're not gaining anything. Even a shomer chinam, they're not. This is something which I told you many times, and I will tell you many times. People don't know that. If I deposit something by Yitzchok, I just, I take this collars of mine, and I run say, Yitzchok, you look after it, and Yitzchok stays stone-faced and doesn't say anything. He did not accept Shmira, right? And if he wants to not look after it and comes the wolf and eats my collars, you're not mechuyev. You did not accept responsibility at all, even not chinam. And therefore what? And therefore, says Rove, they owe you nothing. They don't owe you anything. Mitzad the sesame, they don't owe him the sesame. Maybe they'll be cursed. Leave that alone for now. Mitzad the money, they're not your shomrim. And therefore they owe nothing. Are they nice people? No. Shidduch from a daughter? No. But Lamaisa, let's separate the cases. Here, mitzad shmira, they never accepted shmira. They never accepted to be voluntarily looking after his money. They said, take the money away from the shop. Amo le Rabbanon le Rove. Now Rabbanon, the yeshiva talmidim, told Rava, they sort of corrected Rava, who was a dayan, and they said, wait a minute, Rava, wait, maybe the Sesame people are not aware of Mishapora, and they want the money to be there. You know why? Because it's not over till it's over. Since they were not yet told of Mishapora. Maybe if you take them to court and tell them Mishapora, the curse, maybe they'll retract, right? So when they behave nastily, it's not yet over. In other words, we assumed now that the moment they said, excuse me, mister, we don't have sesame anymore, go take your money, we assume right this second they're removed from the money. There's ki'ilu, a wall. Imagine yourself, a wall between Sesame guy and the money, nothing to do with him. That's not true. Had the Sesame guy known that if he does that nasty phone call, I'm not interested, he's going to get a curse, possibly he would go ahead with a curse. You'd give him a chance. And therefore, the money really, he may not be aware of it, he does want the money there. He wants the money there in order to possibly, yes, continue the deal. The cancellation is not yet final. So the money, therefore, Saivasai, either the money is responsible, or at least you should give him the sesame. Omer lehu hachinami. You're right. Rava was an onov. He did not hesitate to admit. Says Rashi, or mishalem, or ikabel mishapara, en hachinami. Either you should pay him the sumsami or accept mishapara. We cannot yet close the story, close the case, until we really offer him the mishapara option. And then if he says mishapara, then in a chinami, he doesn't have to give anything. As long as the chance wasn't given, it's not yet a done deal, and the money is sort of hanging in between. I saw in the Rosh, I was disturbed by what's exactly going on. What's the status of the money? The Rosh says that he's called, if I got it right, I saw it late night yesterday, the Rosh says he's called a shoyel. He's clearly borrowing the money, right? Because it's not his, but he still wants the money in order to possibly continue the deal. Yeah, in other words, if the deal would continue, right, the money doesn't yet belong to the Sesame guy because Sesame is not bought for money. On the other hand, the money is still connected to the Sesame guy because he wants to continue the deal. Leave Mishapora now. I see you confused. Leave Mishapora. Let's say, leave the whole story alone now. Let's say everyone is nice and smiley and honest and good. I gave money to you, to Tzvi. Where's Tzvi? I gave money to Tzvi, 16,000. The motorcycle is still by him. Is the motorcycle mine? No. Now, no Mishapar, Tzvi is the nicest guy in the world. Now, the money is by Tzvi. What's the status of the money? Says the Rosh, he's a shoyel, he's a borrower. Why? It's not yet his money, but he wants the money to be by him because he wants to continue the deal. He wants me to come tomorrow to Mishkafayim and do Mashiach on the motorcycle. So that in between hanging in the middle, he's like borrowing it because he wants it to be there for his own good. He's not guarding it for me like the Good Samaritan, like a tzaddik. He has very, very clear interest. He wants the money to be by him because he wants to continue the deal. Says the Rosh, maybe there's machlokes Rishonim, I don't know. The Rosh is called like a shoyel. Oh, true. Yes and no. Because although they offered the money back, they were not aware of Mishapara. They were Meratim. They didn't go to Amud Yomi. But had they known about Mishapara, maybe they would say, hey, hold it. I don't want to klolo just for a few shekels. Therefore, it's still, and if they said, we don't care about your religious klolos and we just want more money, then in a then you're right. Then they have nothing to do with the money. It's a canceled deal, completely canceled. Then you'd be right. Then you'd be right. And then the money is just lying there with no shmira. The money got stolen, tough luck. Nothing to do with it. But it didn't yet happen until Mishapara. That's a chiddush. It's not really canceled until it's really canceled, until the fat lady comes and says Mishapara. Now listen to the unbelievable twist in the tale. Omar of Pape, says Rav Pape, Omar li Ravina. Ravina told me, Ledidi Omar li Omer Rabbanon. I was told by one of the Rabbanon, the Rav Tavas Shmei, I personally spoke to somebody who was involved in the story, as we'll see, called Rav Tavas. The Amri lo Rav Shmuel Bar Zuto Shmei. Some say his name was Rav Shmuel Bar Zuto. And I know that this guy who spoke to me, the man who spoke to me, I know he's so honest. If they would given him kol chalol de alma, the entire space of the world, if they had given him all the Brooklyn bridges and all the everything under the sun, that person who's super honest, you give him millions, he wouldn't change his words. And he told me, wow. And he told me, you know that story, the ugly story about the sesame guy, who at the end of the day is a liar, because he said, we don't have sesames. It was me. And the story was completely distorted. That rumor you heard is wrong. And I'll tell you what the real story was, completely distorted. That day that everyone thinks I was a liar, it was Friday afternoon, Yom Shishi afternoon of Shabbos. I was sitting, And I was a sesame seller at the time. The Osel Gavra came a man, the Kaya Bava came to the door, knock, knock. Omerly, he told me, Islach Sumsumi, this bunny, do you have some sumsum for sale? You know, everybody knows that Friday afternoon, sometimes you miss something. Sesame. Amrile, loy. I told him, no, I don't. Omerly, now he had the money and it was Erev Shabbos. What did he was stuck with money Erev Shabbos really late? You were stuck. Omerly, he told me, Lehevu Hanach Zuzi kepikoden gaboch. I want you that money that I was going to buy the sesame, but I don't. I want that money, yeah, to be a pikoden by you. It's getting late. It's chashecha. It's getting dark, getting late. I'm a religious Jew. Don't carry money with me. Just keep it by you. Amrile, and I told him, listen carefully to what he told him. I told him, the house is in front of you. Like the house is yours, which means, Kilo, put it wherever you want. You want to put the money, place it wherever you want. But the house is yours to place it wherever you want. Okay. Usvinu bebeisa, and he did. He placed it somewhere in my house, the ignuv, and it got stolen. That's the only true fact so far that we know. The money got stolen. Also, he came to Rava. And wait a second, what's the question now? Hey, what's the question? Now comes Mr. Depositor and says, hey, you're Shomer Chinam, because you told me the house is yours. So you accepted the responsibility voluntarily. Uh-oh, whoppa, surprise. Omerle says, Robin says no. Kol, ho beisa kamoch. Whenever somebody tells a friend the house is yours, without saying, I'm taking responsibility, not only is not a shomer socha, wow. In other words, I saw it in Shulchan Aruch yesterday, believe it or not, to accept shmir of shomer chinam, you have to say, I am the shomer. Or at least say, says Shulchan Aruch, put it in front of me. But if you say, put it wherever you want in the house, people have big houses, you know? And I'll say, okay, put it wherever you want in the house. Although one may think that's called Kabbalah Achrayas, accepting Christ with Shomer Chinam, it's not. It's not called Achrayas. Yeah? And therefore, if there was not, even if there was Pshia, Rava during, if that nice tzaddik, the honest guy, yeah, Rav Tavvas, during Shabbos didn't look after the money, it's not his problem. Because he didn't even accept Shmiras Chinam. And that was a real story. There was no story about Sesame the way it was portrayed in the Gemara. Amri Lei, we told him, are you sure about that? Are you sure that story never happened? The Amri Le Rabbanon Le Rove, he by Le Kabul Al Mishapora. Part of the story says that in the Besmedrash, Rabbanon told Rove that the person, the Sesame guy, should have accepted Mishapora. Now, in your version of the story, there is no Mishapora, right? According to you, there was no sale whatsoever, right? There was only an issue of shomer. There was no sale. Shomer have no mishapora. Mishapora is only a term of kinyanim, of transactions. There's no mishapora by shomer. So must be that your version is wrong. Omali told me that's also wrong. That never happened too. That part of the story is also false. It's also a distortion. Chachamim never said that to Rava, that mishapora, because the issue wasn't mishapora. The issue was an issue of yes, no, being a shomer chinam. And Rava Paskin that I am an honest guy. I'm not a shomer chinam. Because I never really accepted clear shmira. The guy came and I said, wherever you want. Wherever you want is not called strong enough. I mean, I would have said otherwise. I don't know. That issue, by the way, if you want to go deeper into the issue of who's called shomer chinam, who's not, that we'll see much later in Daf Pei something, or maybe before. The main part of the shomer is around Daf Pei later on in Sechta. Oh, we met our quota today. And tomorrow, a bit of a sneak preview to tomorrow, we're going to have that piece here before the Mishnah. You can see the Mishnah coming up. It's a new topic. The next topic, as I promised when we started, is a topic of oino'o. Oino'o means to lie or cheat in a specific way. It's called in English overpricing or underpricing. That's called oino'o with an aleph. And that's going to be the issue of the Mishnah and what follows for a few dafim. Just preparing you. Ezra Hashem will be Matzliach. Have a great week full of Torah and mitzvahs and maisim tovim. Thank you to all Zoom participants and to all YouTube participants and to all of you over here. Thank you very much.